good evening, grand risings. Grand risings, that's the new thing that we're saying instead of the, what do we say to people when we're going to bed?
Good night.
Good night. Good night. I mean, literally, everything is new today, so I just kind of figured maybe they got something new. All right, I'm just trying to stay woke, y'all.
I say good night.
I
don't know.
That's what I'm going to keep saying. And good night. So at whatever time you are listening to us, you are hearing the voice of your host, Michelle Fallon. We are the Muses behind the music here with dynamic co-host
Anise Murillo.
Why you have to say your name so clear and concise like that?
I mean, you see, I can't win for losing because literally I used to not say it clear enough, and now I'm saying it too clear. So
I mean, I was just asking a question.
Help me out because I just don't know. But welcome back to another episode, and just a reminder, you can find us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and many other streaming platforms, along with our live premieres on the first and third Monday of each month on YouTube and Facebook Live.
Yes. Today we got a really heavy conversation. It's heavy because I think all artists and just people in general, I don't care what your walk of life is, you could utilize this in your life, knowing yourself and knowing your worth. Yeah. This topic is so big that we decided to do a two-parter. So this is the first edition of Know Yourself, Know Your Worth. And 2 weeks from now, you'll hear the second edition. Listen, if you've got people who are young, they're middle-aged, they're well-seasoned, whoever you have, bring them on or just shoot them an email, a text message, get them to listen in to this podcast and also to share, because we want to know what your thoughts are, your experiences as well on this heavy, meaty, juicy topic that we have for you. I mean, that sounded kind of weird. The heavy, meaty, juicy topic.
You made it more weird when you repeated it.
I guess I did. All right. Well, anyway, one of the things that always comes across the table for any artist is coming to a space where you have to be compensated. Yeah, this is our livelihood, and this is what we went to school for. Or if you didn't have formal training, you definitely, and when I say formal training, you didn't go to a college or an institution. You had lessons, you studied privately with a coach or a teacher, or you gained your knowledge.
There was an investment.
An investment. I love that word.
Regardless of if it was a monetary or time or whatever.
Booyah.
Something was invested.
Right there. So really and truly, my question and my statement in being to this younger generation, that you are the representation of the younger generation, and I'm the representation of the younger generation as well. But for you, tell me, give us an idea of when you had your very first, if you can remember a very first, or it doesn't matter, any idea of your first encounter or an encounter of, hey, I need to get paid. I've been doing this thing for a minute, and because the people weren't really trying to pay you or weren't trying to pay you with what you were asking.
Yeah, I think there's only like one. I'm sure, it's happened. It's happened more than once, but there's only one that really sticks out to me. But I will say, that this is something that I struggle with because I've sung a lot for free, and it was never really any issue for me to do that because I was always enjoying myself, and I always just kind of saw myself as this student who was having an experience, and I was okay with the big trend of what I see on social media now, and people are like, I can't put food on my table with experience, basically.
Yeah.
But I was okay with that. I was okay with being paid with just having the experience, and I was having some very remarkable experiences that a lot of people would never be able to see.
Now, I hate to cut you off, but so like let me ask you a question because were you in a place like were you living on your own? Were you all of these other elements that other artists are also thinking about? I mean, were you living with people where you didn't have to worry about bills?
Yeah, right, exactly. So my situation was very different because I was like a teenager living with my mom. I didn't have to really think about where my next meal was coming from,
Right.
or I didn't have to think about if the lights are going to be turned off. So it was very different for me, and I think that because I was so fortunate in that during that time I kind of transitioned it into my adult life to where I was kind of like not really comfortable asking for payment, even though I'm an adult now, and now I do need to take care of myself. So I need to, this is my job, this is my livelihood. I've invested not only time and energy but money. I did have a situation where there was kind of like a lack of communication going on with someone who was asking me for a service. And I ended up not doing the service because my price wasn't something that was doable for them. And I was completely fine with that. The only thing that I wasn't fine with is that I felt like, again, the communication on both ends was just terrible. And I think that if the communication was better, I mean, there's something could always be worked out. I'm a very compromising person, so it's easy for me to compromise on things, especially something like that. Like, I'm never super pressed about it, but I mean, like, I feel like a part of me could be and should be. So yeah, I mean, that was that situation, and I ended up not doing the event, which was like, it was fine. It was totally fine with me, but some people that event that they did not do was like meals for that month, or like it was like the light bill. That was the light bill performance that they needed to do.
Yeah.
And I thank God I've never had to go through that, and I pray that I never have to. But
yeah, I mean, it's a super fortunate situation if you would never have to do that, and it's a great situation. I don't know any artists out there. Y'all tell me who you are, and it's quite all right if you've never had to experience that situation. Because I know people who have, they've had these 9-to-5 jobs. They've decided, hey, I want to go and do this performance thing full time. They've left their jobs. They've gone back to live at home, and home is so opening and welcoming, and it's like, well, here you are, don't even worry about paying any rent, don't worry about any bills.
Love you, Mom.
There you go again, Normita. I mean, and it's wonderful, but there are like tens of thousands of other artists who will not afford that opportunity to not worry about that. So my question is, let's say that you were in that position. Scenario time. Right?
This is her favorite time of the day.
Hypotheticals. I love hypotheticals, right? I love to actually just like think about the things that could and the things that couldn't happen, and then work my way of how I'm gonna, come up and handle the situation. Anyway, hypothetical time. Let's say that you weren't living at home. You were completely on your own. You had the same engagement presented to you. Right?
Yeah.
This is your livelihood. You really aren't in a place like, some of these other super well-known artists who are out here, and for every performance they're making anywhere between $10,000 to $50,000.
Right.
You're relying on that $1,500 gig. How would you have handled that? Like, what are some of your thought processes into how you say, gosh, this is my worth. This is what I believe that I am worth, and I've got to meet this person somewhere in the middle. Or do you think that? Or do you just, take a risk?
I think it definitely depends on a few things, but I don't know. I think like I said, I'm very compromising. Like I would have, even in my current situation, I was willing to come down, but just off of GP that it was just all of this drama surrounding the situation. I was just like, no, I'm not, because the reality of it is, if you're bringing down your worth, you're saying that you're giving this price and saying this is what I'm worth. You're sticking to that, and then when you compromise that, you're bringing down your worth. You're doing something for less than what you're actually worth. And I'd have to like really think about, is this something that I'm willing to do in this situation? And some situations I may be willing to do it, and other situations I won't be.
Okay. So this is good right here. Okay, because all right, you have been experienced and cultured into the gospel world. You have not in the classical world. Do you bring the same attitude, the same thought process with that? Or are you walking in and you're saying, you know, I am worth this, but you know, people in the classical world don't know you. I mean, you know, so how are you managing your thought process in saying that I need to be acknowledged for my experience, but then there is another level of experience that this classical industry is expecting any artist that they hire to have?
Yeah. I mean, I think that there will be different prices for different things because, like you said, my experience in the gospel world is very different than my experience in the classical world. But I still believe that there's investments, big investments in both, and even though one may be greater than the other, I don't think that it's like that significant to where I can be like, just for an example, if you're asking me to do something classically, I'll do it for free or for $5. But if you're asking me to do something gospel, I'm gonna do it for like $2.50.
I mean, you really are an
You know, I'm an
exaggerator.
extremist.
Yeah, I mean, okay. I mean, we get that. No, but I mean, just in you saying, you know, suppose it's the Kennedy Center calls you up. They were recommended. And that's the other thing about those recommendations. We're going to come to that in a minute. You were recommended by someone. And they want you to do a recital. You've never done anything of this magnitude. Now, you've performed on the Kennedy Center stage. But this is different. They don't want gospel. They want classical.
Yeah.
You know, how are you like? What are you thinking about weighing yourself? I mean, because all of these things we have to think about. You know, in the different capacities. What really sucks to me, it really does, is that, you know, when we got into this conversation during the week, is that the reality is when we are transitioning our creative gifts into particular worlds, we are being held hostage by how that world views particular things, you know. And it goes into that whole entire thing of recommendations. You know, I remember coming up and somebody could refer me for a gig. And they didn't need to see me. They didn't need to hear me. Give me a YouTube clip. Something like that. You know, this generation kills me with that kind of, you know, can you send me a clip? No, I can't. Because the person who recommended you, obviously you trust in their word because you picked up the phone to give me a call. Or you sent me an email. You know, so these are the moments where I have to know, you know, what invested. I love that word. We're going to write that word down. Maybe we should have, like, you know, I don't know, clue words.
Words of the week.
Words of the week.
Hey.
Investment.
You know? Last week it was yet, apparently.
Yes, it was. Hey, appreciate that feedback. That was good. But all right, so investment. So I know what I have done, what I have invested, how many years I have been in this game. And so I'm not going to cut myself shorter. For it. So you do that for you? Like Kennedy Center calls you up, you're recommended? I mean, How are you weighing that?
That is a very hard question, and I'm mad at you for asking me that right now.
Wow.
Because that is something that I would like really have to think about, because it's a big investment. Like I'm going to be putting in so much work to do something like that, and on top of that, it's an amazing opportunity as well. So I really don't know what I would do. I mean, that is too hard. That is so hard.
I know. But you know what? Give it it's just food for thought.
Yeah.
It's food for thought, and for all of the artists who are out here too. Like, these scenarios happen. They Lord knows they've happened to me. They will happen to you depending on how you're placing yourself in this arts world. I almost think about it like the people who are visual artists, and they're trying to get their portraits or whatever they've done up into a gallery, and what they must have to endure when they don't have a particular name, but they're fighting to be recognized in that world. I mean, it's just as hard.
Yeah, I feel like in a lot of those situations too, like the situation that you just mentioned with the Kennedy Center, when those venues usually come to you, they kind of come to you and say, this is our budget, this is what we're willing to pay. And I mean, that's all good and fine. I mean, for an indecisive individual like me, that is actually
you're helpful, but I don't want a single soul to listen to that and feel comfortable in picking up the phone.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say.
So, nobody do that.
Don't be like me. But for someone like me, I actually prefer that, because then you can kind of gauge it. Like, you can. Don't let anyone tell you what your worth is. But I mean, if they're in the ballpark, then you're like, okay, like, this works. This is cool. But I think that it's very important to also be comfortable with, if the number that is given to you is not ideal, then you need to say, I'm not going to do it for less than so and so forth, or whatever.
Yeah.
It may be.
You've got a lot of thank God for all of the experiences that you've had. Thank God for the experiences that I've had. And the one thing that I love to do is talk. And I love to talk to people. I love getting ideas from people, pour into me as much as I'm encouraged to pour into you. Do you seek out advice? Because this whole entire process of knowing your worth is really about knowing yourself first. Like, you really can't, I can't put a price tag to how I really feel my gift and how much I feel it's worth.
Yeah.
And a lot of times too, I learned from Janice Chandler Ateme that in being in this, and the part of knowing yourself, how much when things are off kilter in self, it is off kilter in your gift.
Yeah.
It won't
very
function.
True. Very, very true.
It won't function. And so we're actually, like, Lord knows, I just came out of a situation where I was depleting myself, and I could not function in the gift because it was being depleted by what was being blocked, what I was allowed to block. But I was getting advice from people at the same time, because we need that. We need to hear from people who've lived through it, or people who are just wise, wise beyond their years. Do you seek this? Do you chase after it? Maybe you don't chase after it, but do you seek advice? Who are you seeking it?
Do I chase after anything, Madrina?
No. But I'm just saying, for the younger generation, millennials are so different to me too.
Here we go.
Just so
Here
different.
comes
All right.
the shade.
Okay. All right. Do you seek advice?
I definitely feel like I need to be more of a seeker of advice. But I've been fortunate, thank God that I'm so fortunate that people just kind of give me advice without me really seeking it. And
I wonder who that is.
She's sitting right next to me. Yeah, if someone opens up the conversation with me, I'll definitely ask questions, but I'm one of those people who like, I'm really like, I'm not gonna start a conversation with you unless you kind of start it with me first. So I've gotten some great advice just from different teachers and people that I least expected to get advice from. But that is something that I definitely want to work on in 2021. Seeking mentorship, seeking advice from people who are doing the same things that I'm doing.
Yeah.
Because that's definitely somewhere that I lack.
You shared with me this week something that your audio engineer teacher told you. I love it so much. Please, please, please share that with our Musies. Here comes another golden nugget. Another golden nugget. Yeah.
Yeah, my audio engineering teacher in my undergrad, it was my junior year. I kind of took the class on a whim because it was like one of those times at the end of my degree where they're like, all right, start packing on those liberal arts and things. So I made sure that everything that I was taking was things that I could actually pass, that I was like interested in, because the thing that's the worst is to get into a class that just sucks.
Right.
But I took audio engineering and I ended up loving it. And a part of the class was we had to actually work the sound for live shows. And this particular show that I was working on this day, it was just a solo. I think it was like a saxophonist who was playing. So we didn't have much setup and much mixing to do. So we were kind of just relaxing in the booth, just talking, getting to know each other. And my professor just kind of shared with me, he had actually just recently heard me sing for something, and he was just asking, well, what do you want to do? Because, I mean, I'm in school for opera, and I think the specific thing that he heard was some sort of gospel performance, so he was very confused.
Her heart. We'll talk about that another time, too, right?
He was very lost, so I was just talking to him a little bit about that and a little bit about the different things that I do and wanted to do, and he was just really impressed and just really encouraging, and he was just like a breath of fresh air, honestly. And we got into this conversation about compensation, and he was asking me like if I didn't mind him asking, like, what would I charge for like a performance like that I gave in whatever video that he watched. I have no idea what video it is now, but
convenient.
And I told him, I was like, that's always a tricky thing for me. And I spoke to him about how I've always done a lot of things for free just because I've been in an educational program where it was the experience for me. The experience was like all of the compensation in the world. But now that I'm older, things had to change. And I was kind of struggling with that. I still am. And at that time, it was like so new, and this conversation literally just came out of the blue, so y'all know I was stuck.
Right.
And he just kind of said, he told me that when I'm thinking about getting compensation from people, I really need to think about my time.
Yeah.
And they may not be paying you for the 3 minutes that you're on stage, but I mean, all singers, all performers, everybody knows that the 3 minutes that you may be on stage is like literally the smallest part of everything that it takes leading up to that moment.
Absolutely.
And even after that moment, just the unwind, like everything, there's just so much that goes into it. And he said all of that is it's worth your time. All of that needs to be considered when you're giving somebody that final price. Are you traveling somewhere?
Yep.
Are you going out of your way? Are you passing up on other offers in your area because you have to go somewhere else to do that for them?
Right.
Are you going to be compensated for that? Like, what does your time mean to you?
Absolutely. It took me some time to get to that same space too, but accommodations are part of my rider. If I'm flying out to France, hello, my airfare, and I won't tell y'all all of what's in the rider, but and then there's my fee.
Right. And some people, they think like you shouldn't have a fee. I mean, I'm flying you out, I'm putting you in this hotel, but like, you need to be able to just sing me my song for free. And like, that's not okay.
Someone else might be able to do that. No, it's not okay. But I get it. I get their mentality with that, you know, because me, I'm always looking for a deal, right? So everybody is trying to like save $1 here, scratch there. However, that you were dead on when you talk about and your professor talking about that is a part of our time. Like you're taking me now out of my home area, the comfort of where I am, and I might have to be over in Germany for 2 weeks. I'm being displaced for X, Y, and Z while I'm still at home. All of those things are a part of it, and I think that the older that we get to and the more experience that we have inside this biz, our demands become even greater. I mean, the other thing that your professor was talking about with the time, and you had mentioned of you doing 3 songs and singing or whatever amount of time. I was talking to you this week about Aretha, and I so love the fact that Aretha had said this a while ago, that there are people who are sitting inside the audience. She might not plan on doing respect,
right,
but somebody is always asking
respect.
and I can only imagine like
dang.
that's what I'm thinking. I'm like, in her mind she's like, oh my God, not this song again. But she had to perform it like it was brand new.
Every time.
She must have sung it, I don't even know, good God Almighty, let's just say 10,000 times. But can you imagine that inside one of those times, though, there's somebody who might not have ever heard it, and so you got to still present it. Do you charge them for that? No, it's almost like, well, no to me. I mean, like, some people would beg to differ, be like, nah, I got to come up here and I got to sing this song one more time.
Right.
I'm going to charge you for that because that's my time. But I appreciate that whole thought process, that you give of yourself so much that there are certain things that you just can't calculate it all.
Yeah, exactly.
You really can't calculate
That's
it
really
all.
what it is. You cannot calculate it all, and it's so hard because, I mean, I find myself often going like, okay, well, I don't have to do this, so I can take this off. Or I don't have to do that, so I can take this off. Or I have to do this, so I need to add this. And it's just like, it's just too much. Like, this is what it is. This is what I'm worth. If you don't believe it, then I'm going to go find someone who does.
Yeah. I have to also create baselines. You know what I mean? Because the reality is, if I get Barbecue Tabernacle calling me up.
Not barbecue.
I mean, I'm just kidding because I didn't want to throw out anybody's like church name out there. But I get, they call me up, they ask me to come and sing. Their budget might not be vast like these mega churches that are out here. So, I'm not gonna go and charge Barbecue Tabernacle,
I really wish you would stop saying that.
I'm just saying, I'm not going to go and charge them what I would a mega church.
Of course, absolutely not.
You know what I mean? So you do have scales. You do have scales.
Some people are just ridiculous too. Like, don't be ridiculous.
Please. And you know what? When we talk about ridiculous, because I've worked with some artists, and I will keep you nameless right now, because ridiculous comes in riders. All right? Now, you can know yourself and know your worth, but please do not ask me to, make sure that M&Ms are on the table, but you don't want any of the green M&Ms to be in. I'm not kidding. And I will not name that person. And it's crazy because what happens is I watch all these people who run and rush and go and get everything that these artists want and say that they need, and the artists will leave.
Wow.
You still
because
got all the
green M&Ms in the bowl.
I asked for green M&Ms not to be, like, it's just the craziest thing. I've dealt with gospel artists. Y'all stop being trifling. Remember where you started, y'all. I've dealt with classical artists who did the same thing. It is amazing to me that, that's not what we're here talking about with worth.
Yeah.
That's not what I mean. I mean, if you want to be compensated in M&Ms, knock yourself out. I mean, Whatever makes you feel good.
How did you get to the point where you were comfortable asking for compensation, and what were like some of the trade-offs that you had?
Oh, well, I can start with the trade-off section of it. So when I was first starting off, it's wild too, because there are, three different areas of my creative gifting that I have really utilized. And I stopped with the piano, but voice and directing. But when I first started off with it, it would all depend on who's calling me.
Mm-hmm.
Being truthful, like
Yeah.
who's calling me, because there are some people who you call because you know that they don't have to drop a dime to you.
Mm-hmm.
The name, the experience, the opportunity. Thank you, Barack and Michelle Obama. I mean, really and truly, my fee is $5,000 per song.
Oh my Lord!
And I'm just throwing out numbers, y'all. Don't feel like you can't call me. All right. But I'm saying,
you heard Michelle Fallon. She charges $5,000. We can't afford that.
Yeah, no. I'm just throwing out numbers. But you know what I mean. So I couldn't do it. And then there were other gigs that came along that were like, oh, heck no, y'all need to come out your pocket.
Right.
Weddings.
Mm-hmm.
I love the fact that when people are getting married, and congrats, you're getting married next year. So excited. But weddings, y'all please stop trying to like skimp on these artists, because music makes your weddings.
Oh yeah.
Music makes the funeral. As sad as the process is, and sometimes it's an amazing, rejoicing moment of homegoing services, you still have to honor and compensate the artists who are there, and respect the fact that they're giving you a service that is going to make or break. I have been to both. I've been to weddings where the music was so deplorable. I mean, really and truly, people were pissed. They were just frustrated.
She said deplorable.
It was. You understand? And I have been to funerals where in the middle, people have asked me to please get up and render. First of all, I say that with all humility. That made me nervous as all get out, because I was not there I was there as support, and I was grateful that they could feel, that I would be the one to, set the atmosphere.
That is a big level of trust.
Oh, it is.
Mm-hmm.
Ooh,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, no, for real, because I've already gotten it laid out for, my homegoing service. Everybody already knows, so prepare your vocals from now. She hates when I talk about this.
I already told her that I'm not singing at her homegoing service.
Oh, well.
We don't even have to go into that, because y'all will see. When we get there, far away from now.
Hallelujah.
Maybe in like 100 years.
Hallelujah.
Or so.
God ain't finished with me yet. That is the truth with that. But you were talking to me this week about that whole feeling kind of like different between a wedding and a funeral service. I mean, and I get it.
Yeah, for me personally, funerals, I do not like charging for funerals specifically. I mean, I think, and it depends too, because there's sometimes that I don't know the person at all, and they're hiring me to sing for a funeral because they're trusting me to render in that moment, comfort, and be that person to work their funeral. And I understand that. I understand being compensated for something like that, but I mean, even if it's like my friend's friend's mom, and my friend is the one who asked me to sing for the funeral, I'm not gonna say, all right, well, let me lay out my fees for this funeral. That. I'm like, okay, like no problem. I'm gonna sing at the funeral, and it's gonna be fine. I'm not really looking for, or expecting any compensation, but you know, some people just they don't want you to go away without giving you at least a little something, and that's cool, that's fine. But as far as asking for something, I don't know, I'm not comfortable with that. So I've just that's something that I'm just like, I'm just gonna be okay with that. I'm not comfortable with that.
Right.
Clearly there's a reason that I'm not comfortable with it, so I'm just gonna be fine with that. And to each his own. I mean, some people, they're like, I don't care if it's a funeral, a bar mitzvah, whatever. My fee is such and such. My fee is such and such, and that's what it's gonna be. And you know what? Like, power to you. Like, that is how everybody should be. I mean, that's your worth. This is what you're doing. It's your livelihood. So I respect people who are like that. It's just not something that I do.
Yeah, no, I feel you with that. I do. You know, it's so, you know, to me, funerals are intimate and personal. I mean, weddings are the same way. Yeah. Same way,
weddings
too.
Weddings are different.
But they are.
Yeah, people be asking for a lot for weddings.
Looky here. You know, listen, they are very different. They have their own special contracts. They have their own special guidelines because, you know, brides are divas. Everybody wants to start late.
Oh, my.
You know, but, you know, there is a consequence for starting late. It's called an extra fee, you know, for one sitting there. But, you know, hey, this is the reality, too. This drives me crazy about that. Because I think that if people were, like, bringing on Bruno Mars to their wedding, and they knew that he was showing up, they would make sure that things were on point, timely, you know, and I just want people to respect that of me and any other artist that you have. You've got a wedding planner who shows up for you. You've got the people who are catering for you. You've got the DJ, your musicians. Just respect the fact that there are other people who are involved into this process. Respect their time and not be trifling. I mean, you know, some things happen, but when you're intentional, because I did a wedding with you, and those people started an hour plus late.
Yeah, it was pushing 2 hours actually.
I was giving them a
you were being nice. You were being nice. I mean, she's being nice right now, but when we were there, I was the one being nice. I was like, okay, well, I mean, good thing I don't have anything else to do today because we ended up spending our entire evening there. But she was not having. She was like, "This is ridiculous."
Yeah, no, I complained from the beginning until the time I came off the stage, and then we got up in the car. That was just you know, it's a pet peeve. That's a pet peeve of mine with things like that. You know. The other side of the coin to this whole worth is that we can't negate the fact that we are black women. Yeah. And black women face in this payment structure, and this is where I really want to hear. Yes, everything. Good Lord, have mercy. You know, when I think about orchestras, and I'm always, and this is shameful that even now we're still doing this, but I'm always looking for the colored folk. I'm always counting to see where we are, the instruments that are being represented by us, because all of that matters, and then male or female. You know, and I have some folk, good friends who are musicians who are going to come on the show in later episodes, and we're going to talk about that as well too. We can't negate it. I remember, and I'm not sure if the reason that Price, that would be Leontine Price, you all. I'm not sure if the reason that she had asked for this payment was it had anything to do with, you know, her being a woman and being a black woman. I believe it did. But she was doing a concert and they wanted her and Pavarotti to be on it. And Price had said that she would if they gave her $1 more than they paid Pavarotti. Yeah. And for the time that she was, performing, you know, there were many racial transitions that were taking place, and here she was, Leontine Price, and I still feel like she was still trying to gain the respect and
that she didn't earned 10 times over.
Yeah, and this was well after her, opening for the Met and being the first African American female to be on the Metropolitan Opera stage. Well after all of what she probably went through across in various countries and dealing with here in America. And yes, they did pay her more, and she did do the performance. And so I would love to sit and talk with her and find out why. My question, though, to you becomes, how do you think about that ever? Does that ever cross your mind? Do you feel a difference now? And I don't know what you can compare the difference with. I think I could really do more of that. Or are you affected by it as much as when I was coming into the industry? I was still being affected by heavy racism.
Yeah. I think that it's not as blatant
Yeah.
as it was. But I mean, honest to God, I feel like some people just can't help it. And I'm just like, I don't understand. We are in 2021. I just don't understand how you are just so out of it that you make these racist comments and do these racist things and think that it's okay. Like, it was never okay back then.
Right.
But I mean, like, you're acting like where have you been for the past 21 years? Like,
keep going.
And more and more and more.
Right.
Like, where have you been? So I don't think that it's as blatant, but I mean, it's definitely still here. I mean, I've had professors have conversations with me. I won't say who, but I've had professors who have said, so, because I wear my hair natural a lot. I'll do like protective styles, or I'll do like, I might have like a weave or something that I would go to school with. I mean, my teacher recently called me the hairstyle queen, so like I always have different kinds of hairstyles, but they really like my weaves for some odd reason. And I wonder why. This was a while ago, like years ago, and I was getting ready to do a performance, and one of the people that was a part of it came up to me and said, so at this dress rehearsal, I was getting my weave the next day, but at this dress rehearsal, I had my curly puff ball, doing my thing, looking real cute.
Absolutely.
And she came up to me and she said, so is this how you're going to wear your hair for the performance?
Oh my.
And something as simple as that, like, and it wasn't innocent. It was not innocent. The inflection, everything in her voice just showed me that she was asking me for a specific reason, because she did not want me to wear my natural hair for the performance.
Yeah.
And a part of me wanted to be like, yeah, I am.
Yeah,
but I just kept it real with her, and I was like, well, I'm supposed to be getting my hair done tomorrow, but I don't know if I feel like it. I might just do it myself. And she was like, oh no, I was just asking. Of course you were just asking now.
Yeah.
But that is a whole episode. That is a whole episode.
We're definitely going to talk about that, the hair and being on stage. And it really is unfortunate. It's shifted these conversations of race for me. I got a call to talk to some high school students. They are getting ready to do a song by an African American composer, and their teacher, is expressing the fact that they feel, unworthy of performing a piece written by an African American composer. And I'm thinking, and I don't want to, like, I wish y'all could see her face right now. It's like, what? Because, now the shift in conversations for me become, this is music.
Yeah.
Black people don't sit back and think, oh my gosh, I can't do a Mozart piece. And part of that is because everybody has been cultured. I don't care if you're black, white, wherever you come from, you have been cultured that it is okay to learn European composers' pieces.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, when we start, wanting to study pieces, by Adolphus Hailstork and Nathaniel Detz, and all of these great Black American composers. We act like should we not do this music? It's music.
It's too controversial.
It's something crazy. It's music. It's written by a Black composer, but it is music. And yet, they're still fighting, even though so many of them have passed on, they're still fighting to get the rights of, living through us, who can tell their story, that their music is powerful and complex and simple and emotive, and it's so many of those expressive words that we will tag on for European classical musicians. And I'm really ready to stop having, but I think we've just begun, but I am ready to stop having the conversations so much on race.
Yeah.
We can't avoid it.
Yeah.
I mean, just look around us and everything that is going on in the world.
I don't think that conversation is going to end anytime soon, unfortunately.
I know. And you're right.
But if us having it and over and over and over is what is needed to make the change, then I guess I'm willing. And
that's what we have to.
Yeah.
And we have to. I'm looking forward to hearing back from you. So is Anise. Follow us on Facebook, on IG, on Twitter. Facebook and IG, you can follow us under The Muses Behind the Music.
And Twitter, you can follow us under The Music Muses.
Let's do that Twitter one more time.
And Twitter, you can follow us at The Music. Oh, can I speak English? On Twitter, you can follow us at The Music Muses. The Music Muses. That's what it is.
There you go.
After all that, y'all better go follow now.
You better. I mean, really. Come on.
We really hope you enjoyed today's episode, and we cannot wait for you all to join us again week after next for part 2 of Know Yourself, Know Your Worth with our very special guest. Until next time, I am Anise Murillo.
And I am Michelle Fallon. Peace.
Bye.